A rich man had everything a person could dream of, expensive cars in his garage, a mansion so big it looked like a palace, business deals that made him even more powerful every single day. To the outside world, he seemed unstoppable. But inside his heart, he carried a wound money could never heal. That wound was his daughter, his only child. She was the reason he woke up every morning, and the reason he couldn't sleep at night. Because from the time she was little, everyone believed she was blind. Doctors told him there was no hope. They said she would never see the sunlight, never look into her father's eyes, never know what colors were. He spent millions, he traveled the world for answers, but nothing worked. And so he made a promise to himself. If his little girl could never see the world, then he would bring the world to her. But here's the question. What if the truth about her blindness was never what it seemed? The millionaire's name was Daniel. People in the city knew him as a strong man, a leader, someone who could win any deal. But behind the closed doors of his giant mansion, Daniel was not strong at all. He was broken. When his wife died, their daughter Ella was just a baby. Daniel didn't know how to handle the pain, so he buried himself in work. He stayed late at the office, signed contracts, built towers of glass and steel, but at night, when he was alone, the guilt followed him like a shadow. Ella was sweet and gentle. She laughed easily and she loved stories. But every time Daniel looked at her, his heart cracked. She could not see his face. She could not see the world. And every doctor told him the same painful truth. There was nothing he could do. So Daniel tried to make her world as beautiful as possible. He read her bedtime stories. He described every sunset in words. But deep down, one question never left his mind. Had he failed his daughter the same way he failed his wife? Daniel was trying his best to care for Ella, but the house felt empty, cold and heavy with silence. He couldn't do everything alone. So one day, he hired a young woman named Maria to help manage the mansion. Maria wasn't rich. She didn't own fine clothes or fancy jewelry, but she carried something far more valuable: kindness. She spoke gently, she smiled easily, and she had a warmth that made everyone feel safe. Very quickly, she became more than just a maid. She became someone Ella trusted. Every afternoon, Maria and Ella sat in the garden. The little girl loved asking questions. What color are the roses today? Do the butterflies look happy? Is the sky blue? And Maria would patiently answer, describing every detail as if painting pictures with words. Daniel watched from afar, grateful. For the first time, he saw his daughter laugh freely. He believed Maria was helping Ella accept her blindness. But Maria? She noticed something strange. Something about Ella didn't add up. At first, Maria thought she was imagining things. Maybe she was tired from long days of work. Maybe she just wanted to believe in miracles. But the more time she spent with Ella, the more she noticed the same strange signs again and again. One afternoon, Maria entered Ella's room carrying a tray of food. Before she even spoke, Ella turned her head, as if she already knew someone had walked in. Another time, Ella reached for a toy lying on the floor, without Maria saying a single word about where it was. And then came the moment that froze Maria's heart. A bright red balloon drifted into the garden, carried by the wind. Before Maria could describe it, Ella's little hand shot up, pointing directly at it. Maria stood still, her breath caught. How could a blind child know where that balloon was? She tried to brush it off. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was chance. But deep inside, Maria felt a whisper of truth she could not ignore. What if Ella wasn't blind at all? Maria couldn't shake the thought. The balloon, the toys, the little movements Ella made. It all pointed to one impossible idea. But how could she be sure? One afternoon when the mansion was quiet, Maria decided to test her suspicion. She placed a shiny golden bracelet on the table near the window. Its surface caught the sunlight and sparkled brightly. Then she stepped back and waited. Moments later, Ella walked into the room. She stopped, tilted her head, and her eyes seemed to lock onto the bracelet. Then in a soft whisper, she said, "Wow, it's so pretty." Maria's heart skipped. Her hands trembled. She walked closer and asked gently, "Ella, can you see this bracelet?" The little girl froze. For a moment, she said nothing. Then slowly, she nodded. But what she said next made Maria's chest tighten. "Please don't tell Daddy." Maria's breath caught. Why would a child hide something so important from her own father? Maria knelt beside Ella, trying to keep her voice calm even though her heart was racing. "But why, Ella? Why don't you want your father to know you can see?" The little girl's eyes filled with tears. Her voice shook as she spoke. Because If Daddy finds out, he won't spend time with me anymore. Maria felt her chest tighten. Ella explained between quiet sobs that everything changed the day doctors said she was blind. Before that, her father was always busy, always at work. She hardly saw him, but after the diagnosis, Daniel stayed home more. He read to her every night. He described sunsets, flowers, and the world outside. For the first time, she felt close to him. "If he knows I can see," Ella whispered, "he'll go back to his office. He'll leave me all alone again." Maria wrapped her arms around the child, tears slipping down her own face. She understood now. This wasn't just about sight. It was about love, fear, and a little girl desperate to hold on to her father's heart. Days passed, and Maria carried the heavy secret in her heart. She wanted to tell Daniel, but she couldn't betray Ella's trust. She told herself there would be time later, but fate didn't wait. One evening, disaster struck. A fire broke out inside the mansion. Smoke spread through the halls, and flames licked up the walls faster than anyone could control. Servants shouted, alarms rang, chaos filled the air. Daniel rushed to the front door, screaming his daughter's name. "Ella, Ella!" He tried to run inside, but the smoke was too thick. Heat pushed him back. His voice cracked with fear. His little girl was still trapped inside. Then, through the swirling smoke, a small figure appeared at the top. It was Ella. Clutching her favorite stuffed bear, she darted down the steps. She didn't stumble. She didn't fall. She moved with purpose, as if her eyes were guiding her the whole way. Everyone outside froze. Daniel's heart nearly stopped. How could a blind child escape a burning house on her own? Daniel caught Ella in his arms the moment she stepped outside. He held her tight, shaking with fear and relief. His voice was broken as he asked, "Ella, how? How did you do that?" For a second, she stayed quiet, her little body trembling. Then she lifted her face, tears in her eyes, and whispered the words that would shatter her father's world. "Daddy, I can see. Please don't stop loving me." The ground seemed to disappear beneath Daniel's feet. His mind raced back through the years, the doctors, the endless appointments, the nights of guilt. Could it all have been wrong? His daughter, the child he believed had lived in darkness, had been hiding the truth. But she hadn't hidden it out of cruelty. She had hidden it out of fear. Fear that if her father knew, he would disappear into his office and leave her alone again. Daniel's chest tightened. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even shocked. He was heartbroken. Heartbroken at himself for not seeing what she needed all along. Daniel held Ella as if he would never let go. His voice cracked as he whispered, "I'm so sorry, my baby. You'll never be alone again. I promise." From that night forward, everything changed. Daniel was no longer the millionaire who measured life by business deals and skyscrapers. He became a father first. He sold part of his company, spent more time at home, and filled the mansion with laughter instead of silence. Ella's world grew brighter every day. She noticed colors, pointed at flowers, and giggled at the sparkle of her father's cufflinks. And together, they rebuilt something even stronger than sight: trust. Maria remained by their side, not as just a maid, but as family. She had been the one brave enough to see the truth when no one else could. And here's the lesson. The people we love don't always need our money, our gifts, or our success. What they really need is our time, our presence, and our love. So let me ask you this. If someone you love was hiding their pain, would you notice?